Vesta. How are you? Happy Independence Day. Hope everything is fine with you. Give a few minutes for people to jump on. I'm kind of curious to see who's home and able to watch today, because a lot of people have the day off. So I'm just wondering if we'll have a wider audience. I hope so. If you're new and you're watching for the first time, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Hello, Linda. Hi, Janelle. How are you? And let's see, we got Connie. Thank you for being here. So yes, happy Independence Day, America. Let me know in the comments, what are your plans today? Do you have a cookout? We actually may be going to a little festival after the live. Eat some of that good, what we call fair food. I love this time of year because our county fairs will be starting, and we like to go to the fairs just to eat. Hi, Judy from Florida, Janice, Cheryl from Delaware. Good morning. Hi, Sharon. So great. We got a pretty good crowd this morning. A few things from the Stampin' Up! World. There are new online exclusives right now. There's 2 new card kits. And bonus days has started. So for every $50 that you spend, you will be emailed a $5 coupon that you will be able to use in the month of August. Hi, Jasmine. Yes, it's 4th of July, fireworks. Love fireworks. My dog, not so much. So we are probably just going to stay home. I'll tell you, the fireworks in the neighborhood, you don't even have to go downtown and be amongst so many people. They're all over. Great that you can see something beautiful in the sky. Bad for my dog. And I know not only my dog, a lot of other pets, and a lot of other veterans and people too. So, it's one of those things. It's a give and take. But it's nice to be able to celebrate our freedom. So I am going to flip the camera around, and while I'm doing that and moving some things around, I want you to say good morning to each other. This will just take a second, and then we're going to get into today's project, which is patriotic. But I've got an alternative to show you if you want to make the same card and change up the colors. So I will show you that when we're done making the mystery blocks. So just hold on while I flip the camera and just rearrange some things. I'm also plugged in. Let's see if I can set this back a little bit. I'm plugged in on my iPhone. I had a full charge this morning. Great, I'm going to be all prepared for the live. And then at about, I don't know, 9:30, I started playing around with a second pattern, and I'll explain to you why I was playing with a second pattern as we go along, because I don't want to give away the mystery. But I totally needed to do another block. So there will be a PDF. I do need to go back and now revise it. And I will just say that you're going to get 2 patterns instead of 1. So that's good for you. I just need to go in and revise my PDF. Okay, so good morning, Margot and Mary from Minnesota. I actually am seeing some names that I do see because of the card kits, but we don't get to talk very much because you don't always get to check out the live. So, hey Beth, hi Lynn, hey Kay. It's great. I get to see some, like I said, hey Carrie, some names that I'm used to seeing when I'm addressing envelopes and card kits. So I'm glad that you're able to catch one of the lives. Hi Peg. Hey Lori. Okay, so I'm gonna sneak my sample over here. You can't see it. Oh, you know why this doesn't look right? I didn't flip. It's backwards. Hold on. I gotta flip. As you notice, I kept moving things around. I'm like, why is that sheet looking so odd? It's because I needed to flip. Okay, so now that's looking normal. Hey, Cheryl. Hi, JK from Wisconsin, and Beth from, how are you? Beth's watching from Philly. Hi, Betsy. All right, let's get started. So this block is a Sawtooth star, and we're going to, that's what I will tell you about it. But it's got two parts, and so I just totally gave away the mystery, but you don't know what it looks like, right? Oh my goodness, I'm like a little discombobulated this morning. We're going to create our block in two parts. So the first part is a 3-inch square. Now this 3-inch square is going to determine your pattern. Okay? So we have that. We have an 1.5 inch, a 1.5 inch square. We're actually going to cut this into 4 quarter square quarter square triangles. And then we have 4 3/4 inch squares. The second part is a 1.5 inch square. We have a 3/4 inch square that we're going to create 4 triangles from. And we have 4 3/8 of an inch squares. Okay. This bigger square here, I'm actually going to do with my trimmer. I have found that as long as the blades on my snips can cut all the way across, it's easier to just cut into the corner and go across with smaller pieces and use your snips. But for this square, that's 1.5 inches, I'm actually going to bring in the trimmer and show you how I do that. So we're working on part 1 right now. This is a little bit of cutting that you have to do in order to get all the pieces that you need for your quilt block. So I'm just going to set my square on point. I've got the top point butted up right against the bumpers, and I've also got that point sitting in my cutting track, and my opposite point is sitting in the cutting track. And I'm just going to close my guard, and I've got my blade in the middle because I don't want to cut into those points. You can smush up the ends of your cardstock and just cut up and down. So now I've got 2 triangles, but we need 4. So I'm going to turn one of these around, and I'm going to put it up against the top, and I'm going to put that point back into the cutting track. And now I've got 2. I'm going to do it to the other triangle. And now I have my 4 triangles. I am going to set these 4 triangles back with my part 1 pieces. I'm going to bring in, well, we're going to put this away because I'm actually going to use my snips. This is part 2, this is part 2, and this is that 3/4 inch square. It's so tiny that I could mess around with cutting this in my trimmer just like I did the first one, but I can actually just cut them in half like that. And then I'm going to cut them in half again. I'm just going to line up my snip so that I'm straight and going right to that top peak. So there's 2. And there's 4. Okay, so this is all of the parts that we need for part 2. So our cutting's done. I just wanted to go through the cutting of the triangles with you. Okay. Hi, Judy's watching from Jacksonville, Florida. Hi, Debbie. And Mindy's here. Yay. Hey, Pat. Okay. Now, let's go back to part 1. This is our 3-inch square. And we've got our triangles and our white squares. So we're going to build our first quilt pattern. And what I'm going to do is I am going to adhere these 4 white squares to the outside corners. Okay, so that's our first step. Where is my Tombow? These pieces are pretty easy for me to handle picking them up, so if you're having trouble handling the pieces, a pair of reverse tweezers works really well. Gives you that helping hand. Right now, I'm not having a problem holding these. When we get to the second part, the pieces get smaller. I will be bringing in my tweezers and making it easier on me. When you use the right tools, the job just goes by so much nicer. It's less aggravating. But the stubborn streak in me is sometimes I just don't want to do it the easy way. And I will make it hard for myself. It's okay because the end result is so pretty that you will get over it. So, and I'm just making sure that my white squares are up in that corner, and I'm taking my fingers and just running it along the outside edges to make sure that these sides are straight. Okay? So that's the first part. Hi, Maureen. Happy 4th. Hey, Jill. Happy 4th. Tammy, Judy. Hey, Joanne. Now, our triangles. You want the longest side to go across the top or the outside border of that blue square. Okay? And they're going to sit right in between the white squares. And you can see what's happening here, right? For those of you who are new, do you see what's happening? this is a really nice shortcut to creating a star without having to cut all of these individual points. We're going to work from the outside and create our pattern instead of cutting all the little pieces, putting it on the base and building out. Okay? So for those of you who are new, this is a really easy way of creating that star without having to cut a lot of small pieces and put multiple pieces in to create it. So once you like the placement of your triangles, then you go back in and you adhere them. I have found that in making quilt cards, it's going to save me some time and possibly some frustration if I play with the pieces and put them down first without gluing them, because I may have to change some things around, and I don't want to glue something down that was wrong or wasn't cut right, and now I have to start totally over. So always just take that few seconds, really, to lay those pieces down and make sure they're going to fit before you just start gluing them down. Now, I will admit that there's a lot of times I just start picking things up and putting them down and not even listening to my own advice. Sometimes it works out really great. There are times that I've had to start over. So, I mean, you know, just try to make it easy on yourself. Hi, Betty. Hi, Debbie. Okay, sure. So you're going to watch the replay. Great. And that is a really nice feature to have, is replay. Hi, Linda. How are you? And it's hot and humid in Oklahoma. Oh, I can only imagine. And good morning, Kathy. Oh, she's got to go prepare for a family picnic. Well, catch the replay. Okay, so this is part 1, and I am just going to set that aside. Now, when it comes to part 2, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did in part 1, but we've reversed the colors, okay? And I'll show you why as we're building the block. So we're going to put those 4 3/8 of an inch squares in the corner, and then we're going to put our triangles in between. Now, if these pieces are too small for your hands, let me show you an option real quick before I go any further, that you can still use this square right here, because what we're going to end up doing is putting part 2 on top of part 1. So you could still have this beautiful star, but just without all the little pieces. So if working with the smaller pieces is hard on your hands, then skip all of those little pieces, but you can still use that big square to define that star. Look what I got. I actually found this in my supplies that I used. I must have gotten it back when I was still teaching paper bead classes at the local, the different art places around Toledo and Perrysburg. That's what I was doing before I jumped into quilt cards. Up until the pandemic, for 2.5 years, I was very busy teaching paper bead classes. And once the pandemic hit, well, my classes all stopped, and we had all that time alone. And that's when I was sitting outside. Come on, I might have to put a pin in that. I was sitting outside, and I thought, you know what? I had just gotten home from a quilt retreat, and I was like, I wonder if, what if, can I make little quilts out of paper? And that's how the quilt card thing came to be. But anyway, I must have gotten this little glue bottle and totally forgot about it when I was doing paper beading, and I ran across it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting on this for how long? And I didn't even realize it. I've seen everybody using them. Everybody was suggesting to me where to find them. And here I had been sitting on one. So, I'll tell you, it certainly makes a difference. And I didn't even grab my reverse tweezers. But I'm just putting these. Now, if you're getting ahead of me, please don't, because I want to explain to you one step that I'm going to do before adhering part 2 to part 1. I want to eliminate some of this bulk, because we're putting working with cardstock, it's thicker than designer series paper, and I want to reduce some bulk. So, and then here I'm just going to play with my triangles. I'm curious, was anybody playing with a different hobby before the pandemic? And what new hobby, if you have any, do you have because of all that time we had to ourselves and we were looking for things to keep us busy? Did you find a new hobby during that time? And if so, what was it? I'm curious to know. So here we've got part 2. Okay, now that I like those, we'll go ahead and put these down. I have only touched my sewing machine maybe twice. I know of one time for sure. I miss it immensely, but it's just trying to carve out the time to do everything that you like to do. And if you're like me, you have that one thing that you're really enjoying doing, and so you can't even begin to think of doing anything else. Yeah. I really am totally enjoying quilt cards. They go together so fast. It really is what I need, because I'm always chasing the next shiny thing. They go together fast, and I can try all of the things that I've been wanting to do. Okay. So we've got part 2 done. Okay. What I want to do, because I have 2 layers of cardstock here, and I'm going to be adhering it to a 3rd layer, I can see that it's going to sit up on my block. So here we have this star and a star. I can see that it's sitting up, and that's fine. You could even pop up that middle if you wanted to, but I just want to make it a little more inconspicuous. So what I'm going to do is I am going to place this star in between some copy paper or grid paper. And I've got my machine set up with my cutting plates. I am going to put this between the cutting plates and just run it through so that the rollers can smooth everything out. And it'll make it feel a little thinner. I don't know exactly if it makes a big difference, but I think it does. So I'm just going to smooth this out. I don't want any texture. I just want the pressure of the rollers to thin that cardstock. It can totally be an optical illusion. I mean, the weight of the paper doesn't change, right? But it does smooth it out so that it's laying flatter. It took all those ridges from the edges of the cardstock and smoothed them out. So I think it's going to be less conspicuous that it's sitting on top of this star here. Now, if you notice, I've got white edges because that 1.5 inch square was white. So when you're laying, fireworks already. So when you're laying this down, if you don't want to see the white edge, here's another tip I have for you. I found that using a Stampin' Write marker in the same color as what's on the outside here to make my star, if I just use the edge of the brush and go along the edge, I can get rid of that white so that if that is peeking through and that bothers you, just make sure that you're not coloring the top. I noticed that when I used it with the blends, it wanted to spread, and then when it's laid on top, it got to this side of my cardstock. You could tell the difference, and I didn't like that. But here I'm just trying to make it look like this is Night of Navy all the way through instead of basic white. That way it will blend in with the Night of Navy that's on the bottom, and you won't see that white edge. And that white edge can happen also if you're not getting your pieces all the way into the corners or all the way to the outside. So that's just a little trick I wanted to show you to make that white disappear. Hey Jessica, hey Margot. So now when this is sitting on top of my bigger star, it all kind of blends in together. Yes, you're going to be able to see that there's a little lip there, but believe me, it was more prominent before I just kind of ran it through the rollers. So now I will go ahead and I'm going to adhere part 2 to part 1. And it should fit right down in there. My suggestion to you is to try it before you glue it down in case you have to fine-tune the trimming of the block. Now I can see a little bit of white there. I am not gonna go in and fix that, because if I mess it up, I have to start totally over. What I can do is when I'm looking at my star, if I can see an imperfection, I'm going to turn the block. And look, I'm going to put my eye is going to go to where it's more blended, and my eye can't see the side there. So just turn it and you can like hide what you don't want to see. Okay? So now I want to do some quilting. This is our mystery block. It's the Sawtooth square and a square. I want to give it some quilting. And I am going to use the 3D eyelet folder. And what I'm going to try to do, and I'm actually going to use the embossed side. I'm going to try and line up one of these little flower looking, come on, Julie, eyelets, and I'm going to try and get that in the center of my star. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to, whoops, well, maybe we'll work with this one down here. I'm going to try and get that. That's not too bad. I'm going to get that right in the center there. And now I'm going to run this through my machine using the plate for 3D embossing folders. I'm going to switch out my cutting plates. And this is, you're using the charcoal gray plate. I forgot to take number 2 out of my machine. Okay, so it's still all lined up. And I'm sorry I'm doing this off camera. The shape would be too much for my table that I'm doing the live on, so I have to keep it separate. Now I'm gently going to take that out of there. And so I've done my quilting. I've got that nice little flower there in the center. And now we need to frame our block. And I'm going to do that with the 3 1/4 inch square to bring in that Night of Navy to frame that. So it's a two color square or 2-color block. Some of you might be recognizing this block, and we actually did it back in February. In fact, there's a PDF already in the files, but the block was multicolored. And I think for beginners, doing just a 2-color block, it's easier to comprehend. And then you can step it up and start bringing in, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. But you can find, it's back in February. I'll show you the PDF. I have it beside me when we get our card done. I felt a little sticky something right there. I want to use my adhesive eraser to get that off of there, but you've got to be gentle because you don't want to mar up your embossing. So just take easy, short little strokes, go in one direction, don't go back and forth, and just loosen that adhesive up. And I got this at the Dollar Tree. They have little adhesive erasers at the Dollar Tree. So there is our quilt block. Now, let's put it in a card. And I love this simple design. I think these cards are going to be wonderful for veterans cards. I know a lot of you make cards for veterans and soldiers, and this is going to say thank you. So it's a beautiful card to thank them for their service. We have a 4 1/4, so it's 4 1/4 by 11. This is a half a sheet of cardstock cut in half in the portrait mode, okay? Scored at 5 1/2. My card is going to open like a book, and my fold is going to be on the side. Okay? I had you get a 4 1/4 by 6 inch piece of designer series paper, but I'm going to show you how I used how I'm going to use the piece that I cut off. I'm going to use this. That wasn't in your directions, but I saw it sitting there and I'm like, we got to use that. So this card will end up taking a 6x6, but it's totally worth it. So because my card is in landscape, if you've got a directional design, you're going to want to make sure that you cut it so that you end up with the pattern in the direction that you want it. Okay, now this is too long for my card base. I need a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this is 6. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off, and so this is going to totally cover the front of our card base. I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to use it as trim for the insert of my card. On the side there, it's a little long, so I want to trim this to 4 inches. This is scrap, don't save it. That's going to be my trim. And I'm actually going to use this piece that we cut off across the back of my card. So I want it to go the total length. So I need 5 1/2 inches. And this is scrap. So these are the 2 pieces of scrap that you'll have left over. If you've got a lot of designer series paper to use up, you can use a whole sheet of 6x6 for one card. Unless you just want to hold on to your paper forever. So let's start building our card. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to start by putting this strip across the back. I'm going to put it right down the middle. Just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to put it right across the back. While I'm working on the back, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to put my button on, signing my quilt card here, so to speak. And I brought in some wild wheat to mimic some gold, because whenever I see the flag, there's always some gold fringe or some gold trim along with our flags, the more ornate ones. So I wanted to bring in that color. So there's the back. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to work on my insert. I'm just going to run a little bead of glue along the end. Set my little piece of trim on there. And then we'll go ahead and we will, whoops. And this is even a new bottle of Tombow. Come on. Okay. I'm going to put this right on the inside, leaving a nice little Night of Navy border around the 4 sides. Okay. I want to clean up this nozzle a little bit. Okay, I think that did it. Now our designer series paper is going to cover the front. I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue right down to my card base. And I'm going to just put in a little message with my glue. Thank you. I started playing around with this. Nobody's going to see it, but I can tell you the message is going to be hidden in there with the glue. Nobody can see it, but it's my little message of love tucked inside my card. It's kind of like Build-A-Bear, but with Tombow. Just sneak in a little message. Okay, so we got the front of our card. And I'm going to bring in my square. I just want to set it up here in the corner. So I'm kind of going for a flag look, right? So I'm just going to set this in the corner. This designer series paper is from the 6x6 Regal pack. Okay, it's in cherry cobbler. Now I have a sentiment here, and you can do this. Now that you can see what your card is looking like, now you can figure out what you want your sentiment to be. I used a stylish shaped die, and I used the word thank you from throughout the year. So I did the thank you. I loved the mixed font. I stamped it to the as far right as I could because this is actually going to just get tucked in. So there's a little, you know, just one end is flagged. But I wanted to see where I wanted to put it because I'm going to be gluing everything down. So that's why I haven't glued my block, because I'm going to put some adhesive here on the back. And I'm just going to lay that down, and I just want to tuck this under. And I'm actually going to use my lines from my paper to help keep me straight. Now when I glue that down, my square down, it looks like my sentiment is just, you know, just peeking out there. Let's go. Hello. Oh. Too much time on my hands, you guys. Just writing all kinds of little messages to the person who's going to get this card. Just some nice little blessings. So all that's left to do is embellish. I'm keeping it very simple. I'm going to bring in these metallic adhesive back textured dots. These are my favorite. I'm going to use one of the big ones for the center of my star. And then I'm just going to come in with another large one and a smaller one. Come on, get over there. To sit right on top. Okay, so there is our patriotic card for Independence Day. This is really simple, and I think someone of service would really appreciate knowing that their service is appreciated. And so you could finish it off by stamping something on the inside, writing a note, or putting another stamp sentiment that gets more in depth on how your gratitude. And there it is on the back. So this was inspired by two things. Sharon had reached out to me, and she was asking if we could do something with a little bit bigger pieces because of her hands. And absolutely. And Laura on my team, she had sent me a picture of a star and a star, and asked if I had ever done it before. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then it wasn't until 9:30 this morning that I realized her star and a star was different. So guess what I was doing? And running down the battery of my phone, taking pictures, because now I need to work all of this into the PDF. This was already designed. The PDF is done, except for the link to the live. But now I want to go in and give you another star pattern to do so that you can pick between the two. So let me show you what that looks like. This is actually the star that she sent me and asked me if I've done this before. Right away, my brain went to the one I just showed you. And it was until this morning that I thought, I didn't even do what she asked me to do. So we've got to do another card. So to do this block here, it is pretty much the same thing that you did here. Okay? Except there's just one minor thing. We don't have that 1.5 inch square that's in the center. This is an optical illusion. There is not an extra layer here. I just built this inside star right on that 3-inch square that we started with in part 1. And what I did, because I'm using Night of Navy and it would be hard to see my pencil lines, I scored 3/4 of an inch all the way around. And then I worked on my star on the inside. And then I put my pieces on the outside. So this is going to be another pattern that's going to be in the PDF. I just need to get it done now. So Laura, I scrambled, but I got you your star that you were asking for. And so the PDF will reflect on how to do both of these stars. So you're getting 2 stars in the PDF instead of 1. So it all worked out for the better. Janice, we love options. I am so glad you did. And Sharon, you did all of it. Oh my goodness. Good for you. Curious where you got your stamp that you put on the back of your card. Linda, what this is a friend of mine did this for me in Word, in a Word program, I believe. I know that you could, I don't know how to do it, but it was done in Word. I gave her what size my punches were so that I could keep the my information inside of the punch. I wanted to keep it like a 1 inch. And you know, you can do all that sizing in Word. I just don't know how to do it. I wanted it contained within a 1.5 inch circle. So there's like 20 on a page that I can print out. And then I just cut those rows apart and punch out my button. So it's actually in a Word program. If you know somebody computer savvy or you are computer savvy, then I would just go in and create your own little button and then punch it out with some of your punches. So that's how that was done. Cheryl says, where will the PDFs be? Yes, they will be. They get uploaded under the tab that says Files. But when I upload it, you will see that show up in the thread, its own post. Once that gets buried behind, underneath comments and people sharing pictures of what their cards look like, just go up to the Files and you'll be able to find it. It should be the very first one. They kind of just, when you upload a file, the newest file is always at the top. I want to show you the alternative card for this square that we did together. I used the Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper. I kept the thank you. I kept the embellishments. I just switched out my colors. So here I'm working with Crumb Cake and Early Espresso and one of the patterns from the Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper. So I just wanted to give you an example of how you can still use the quilt block and just change up the feel by changing up your designer series paper. And so the inside, everything is the same about this card except for the papers and the colors I used. Now this card base I had laying around, so I just made it a top fold in landscape. So here I have that extra strip that I had cut off of the designer series paper, and then I used the strip across the back just to finish it off. So there are two different looks of the same quilt block, and I will have a picture of this in the PDF so that you have another option when it comes to paper. And then here is that, let's move this up here. Here's that second star pattern. So I think I covered it all pretty well as far as meeting the suggestions of Laura and Sharon. Funny how it didn't dawn on me till 9:30 this morning that, you know what, you didn't do the right star. But it's all good because you benefit from that. And we, like Jana said, we love our options, and I love to share as many things with you as I can. So it's all good. So thank you for being with me here on Independence Day. And I hope you enjoy your time with family, celebrating America's independence. I wanted to show you real quick. Here's a couple of those, the second star I was telling you about, how it's the Sawtooth star on top of a Sawtooth star. But here I reversed the colors. Just remember that your 3-inch square determines the color of your star. If you want your star to be white, then you need to start with a 3-inch square of white. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, so here's just some other color options. This is Sweet Sorbet, I think. It was just a scrap of a red when I reached into my bin to see what I had. But I just wanted to show you in the different colors. And when I was building this red one, before I put my triangles in, and I just had my 4 corner squares, I saw the Canadian flag. Now, if you're from Canada, don't laugh at me, but some way there's got to be a way to manipulate this Sawtooth star here in the center to look like a maple leaf. And then you could just put, you know, I think it's the red stripe that's on both sides. The Canadian flag is the red maple leaf with a white background, the red stripe. You could get a Canadian flag out of this pattern. So if you're from Canada, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I saw the opportunity there. It's just, you know, tweaking it to know how to do it. But it totally gave me the vibe of the Canadian flag. I hope that I didn't totally get that all wrong. But I did see the possibility. So this pattern can branch out. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know it can be done. We're all so creative, it can be done. So again, thank you for being here. Happy Independence Day. Enjoy your day off. Relax. Craft. Spend time with family. Maybe catch some fireworks tonight. And just enjoy the day. And remember what our independence is all about. Okay? Linda says, how about the maple leaf from last fall? Oh, good idea. Good idea. Hey, Shelly. And Shelly's got Canadian friends. See, we can, now that our wheels are spinning, we can just like morph this into something different. Shelly, she saw the Canadian flag too, so it's not just me. Hi, Lauren. I I didn't either until I think there was a comment that is to something else. I'll have to go back through and read comments. But again, thank you. Have a blessed day. And I will catch you next Thursday with another mystery Quilt Block Thursday. Okay, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good time today. Relax. And I will be talking with you later.